All right, let's continue talking about this. At this point in time, joining us on the show is Dr. Jayajit Bhattacharya, President of the CDEPR. Ambassador Veena Sikri, former diplomat, is also with us on the program. Pathikrit Payan, geopolitical expert, joins us on the show as well. Last but by no means the least, Professor Madhav Nalapat, editorial director of the Sunday Guardian, is also joining us on the platform. Professor Nalapat, I'll begin with you, sir. Well, India is going to be representing India in Canada. The Prime Minister has been invited for the G7 once again. Now, this is a trend, mind you, Professor Nalapat, which started in 2019. Britain, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the United States are part of this grouping. India is not. And the fact of the matter is, Professor Nalapat, there are two salient aspects of this summit which are extremely crucial. One is that the G7 summit can no longer ignore India because of its economic might. And secondly, this summit is important because this is happening in Canada, a country which has had a hot and cold relationship with India over the last few years. But now with new premiership, with the new Prime Minister stepping in, there could be some final lines that may be drawn. What is your assessment, sir, of this summit, and what can G7 expect from India, and what can India expect from the G7?
Look, the G7 can expect a lot from India and vice versa, but it's a very, very important signal at the Prime Minister stopping in Cyprus. Cyprus is divided between the Turkish Cyprus, Turkish controlled part of Cyprus, and the Greek Cyprus, where the Greek-speaking people are basically in a majority. 36% is the Turkish sector, and the rest, 74%, is the Greek sector. The reality is Prime Minister is against terror. And this signal is a very clear signal to Erdogan, who unfortunately has been supporting a terror state, namely Pakistan. I mean, Prime Minister Modi has made it absolutely clear in his speech to the nation, you remember, and to the world, that terror is an enemy, and we will fight not only the perpetrators, we'll fight the state sponsors of terror and those who are accessories to that terror. Now, Kurdistan is very important, but Cyprus, let me tell you, Turkey, they don't downplay significance of this particular stopover. The reality is, Vineet, that Cyprus represents that cutting of ways between terror and those who are anti-terror. The Turkish side, unfortunately, has been infiltrated by Wahhabis since the time Erdogan took over, and unfortunately that influence only spread, and that is not an influence that is welcome. That's not an influence that we are, frankly, we would welcome. And I will again distinguish between Wahhabis and the general Muslim population as such, which is overwhelmingly moderate. So I want to say it's a very important signal to Turkey. Look here, Turkey, we know what your frolics are. Don't forget, we were the first country to help you during the earthquake, and we provided huge assistance. We never asked for anything back, but we never expected a slap in the face back by you. And that is what has happened to India as a result of this action by Turkey. Now, it's only because of the strategic location and some Russian and American bases that Turkey still remains in NATO, but it is basically now being captured by the Wahhabis and, of course, by their good friends in China. So I want to say the Cyprus visit is very important. It underlines Prime Minister Modi's commitment to fighting terror. It underlines the division between those who support terror, their perpetrators, the state perpetrators, and those who are opposed to terror, namely Cyprus, the Greek part of Cyprus, where Prime Minister Modi will be touching now. Let me tell you, therefore, it's an immense historical significance. The Prime Minister's touchdown in Cyprus, and it's a very important country right in the midst of the Mediterranean, and it's a very important country from a military point of view, from a cultural point of view, from a strategic point of view. So I want to tell you one thing, Vinny, we cannot downplay the importance of the symbolism and the meaning of his touching down in Cyprus before moving on to Canada. As far as Canada is concerned, well, we are all hoping for a reset. but I'm not going to hold my breath on that for a simple reason. It's been 40 years since the Niger murder. Everybody knows who the perpetrators are, but the Royal Canadian Mounted Police seem to be the only people who don't know who the perpetrators are after 40 years. I mean, this Niger thing is obviously gangsters, and it's an insult, diplomatic insult to India to say that we have been involved with gangsters. I know we have not, although our diplomats will meet a large number of people in the course of their duties. I mean, as a journalist, I have met a lot of very unsavory people. Are you going to then blame me for the horrible actions they did? It would be absurd. As absurd as Trudeau blaming India for the killing of Niger just about 2 years ago. But 40 years ago, there was a Kanishka crash. A huge number of Canadian citizens were there. A large number of Indian citizens were there. Until now, what does the RCMP come up with? Zero. Absolutely zero. So I would not hold my breath. But a reset will take place. Mark Carney, the pragmatic man, he's not like Justin Trudeau. And I think Canada is too important and India is too important for either side to ignore. So I certainly believe that this invitation itself is a reset. And I'm sure the Prime Minister will make full opportunity of it to meet all the other leaders who have come there, some very important leaders from very important countries, with one notable omission, apart from Russia, which is China, and one inclusion, which is inevitable, given the country's importance in the global south. So I want to say this invitation to India was absolutely important to convey a signal to the global south through their champion Narendra Modi, and the stopover in Cyprus, the signal that India has a policy of zero tolerance to a terror, its state sponsors and its associates, and the state associates of the state sponsors. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, Vineet.
Absolutely right, sir. Ambassador Sikri, the Prime Minister stopping over at Cyprus.